Living as a homeless nomad has taught me survival skills that could save your life in any crisis. I've walked thousands of miles, slept under the stars, and scrounged for scraps in dumpsters. It wasn't always easy, but it made me who I am today. And in a world that's one crisis away from chaos, I've learned to thrive in the most unexpected ways. I'm about to take you on a journey through the wild world of surviving SHTF as a homeless nomad. I think we're all guilty of this, where we think SHTF is going to happen right away. Like, you go to bed and everything's great. You wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden, buildings are on fire. The government's gone away, and it's like a whole cataclysm happened overnight. But that's really not the way it is. Just like you can't turn an aircraft carrier on a dime, to be able to degrade society into anarchy, chaos, civil unrest, civil war, and then also to be thrusting global war. We also have issues with the supply chain and the food crisis and the homeless crisis and the economic crisis and this crisis and that crisis. And it becomes this super storm that just takes any nation down to its knees. But it's not like it happens overnight. It happens over a period of time of, like, let's say 1 to 5 years, maybe 7 years tops. Okay, so what have I learned in not only the last 2 years of being a nomad, because a lot has changed since the last time I was homeless. And for those of you who don't know, I've been chronically homeless for the last 25 years. And this is a typical lifestyle that I live when I'm homeless, is I'm very nomadic. I don't like to stay in one place very long. And I think that that's probably one of the most important lessons that you need to learn, is that you may end up losing everything. Although you're prepared, you went and you bought all this stuff, and you built this homestead and stuff like that, but either debt comes to get you, or something else comes to get you, illness, bad crop, who knows, civil unrest, the destruction of property. Whatever happens, you're going to end up becoming an economic refugee at some point in time. So you already need to start planning. If you are preparing for SHTF, or even if you're preparing for homelessness or the apocalypse or the end of the world, whatever you want to call it, okay, you should be preparing to be a nomad at some point, whether it be in the beginning and kind of cut your losses once you can no longer take care of it, or after a period of time, once society is degraded down to a certain point. I think that that's probably one of the most important things that you as a prepper could gain, as far as a piece of advice from somebody that's already experiencing it in his own way. Because I lost my business, and so now for the last 2 years I've been traveling on the road, and quite frankly, some areas you can find work in, some areas you can't. You're gonna also need to get used to being able to rummage up work as you go through cities, because you're gonna be looking for the small little landlords, or for the individual like homeowner that just wants some work done and wants to pay a little bit less for it, and is willing to give you some work just to put some food in your belly and stuff like that. So you need to also be prepared and kind of have some sort of plan of how you're going to market your skills, your abilities, what it is that you can do so that you can survive. Because as society degrades down into chaos and anarchy, you're going to need different ways to be able to make money. You can't just be one-dimensional. You have to be able to build networks and be able to set yourself up some sort of financial infrastructure. The quicker that you could do this before SHTF, the better, before your version of SHTF, because we're all going to experience it differently. Okay, so that's probably the second most important thing that I have learned in my travels. I think another important thing that you can learn from my lifestyle is that if you really want to prepare yourself for SHTF, you should probably set your sleep system up. So if you're going to do a tent, set your tent up and tear it down every day, every morning, in all the elements. That's heat, that's cold, that's wetness, that's dryness, that's all different things. Learn how your gear actually interacts over multiple different environments, especially with the elements that are outside, because a lot of this stuff you may be paying a lot for it, but it's really meant for pristine environments. And so if you can't be able to jump off of a pristine environment and be able to jump in the bush and know how to set yourself up to be able to have flow if there's rain, so that it can drain out from underneath your tent, or you can irrigate it around your tent as another thing that you can do. You have different things that you can do to be able to mitigate the effects, but is your gear durable enough, or did you buy it because it was expensive, and because it's expensive it's supposed to be good? The thing is the more expensive the gear it is, the easier it is to puncture and to tear and to ruin. And you're going to end up having to replace things out here anyways, because you're always going to have to figure out ways to make money to have marketable skills. And there are many different skills that you can do along the way, whether it be black market or legit above the board market. But you've got to be able to replace your gear, and you got to know what gear is going to work and kind of understand your environment. Because when I'm down here in Florida, I have to deal with different things, such as twigs constantly breaking and getting on the ground every day, so I got to clear my ground spot every single day. Versus being up north in a more rocky country, I got to worry about rocks that are sticking up that have pointy edges that can get through. And so therefore you got to be able to know your environment, know the durability of the tent or the gear in which you have. So it's very wise to go out there and spend quite a bit of time, even if you got a backyard, set up and tear down your tent every single day. Set it up at night when you get home, and then when you wake up in the morning before you leave for work, tear it down, pack it up. That way you can understand not only how much time it's going to take you, because you may have to move quick, and you may think, oh, well, I can make it in this amount of time, when in reality, because you're not proficient in doing what it is, you can't really tear down your camp as quickly as you think you can. Okay, so this is something that I think is important that you can learn from my lifestyle. And the last thing that I think that you can learn from my lifestyle that you could apply to SHTF, I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, trust no one. I don't think that trust no one is really the way to go. You should not trust people very willy-nilly. You should not allow yourself to trust somebody to where it makes you vulnerable and puts you in a compromising situation, because I've been warned about certain relationships that I've gotten into over time that, hey, be careful of this, be careful of that. Well, yeah, I'm not going to let a person get that close to me. They have to actually earn my full-on trust. I think that basically when you first come into contact with people, you should give them the benefit of the doubt and let them prove themselves. Give them small little things, because if they can't follow through on the small things, then they can't follow through on the big things. Now, life does happen, circumstances does happen, but how often does it happen? And is this person living a chaotic life? And you get to see a lot of a person when you spend some time around them, and then give them enough to be able to prove themselves. Give them little tasks. It's like, okay, can I trust you to follow through and be here when you say you're going to be here? Can I trust you to have this when you say you're going to have this? If you say you're going to do this, then what is the likelihood it's going to get done? And if it doesn't get done, are you going to communicate, or are you going to just pretend like things didn't exist? Because then you get to understand the character flaws of the person and their boundaries, because everybody has a price. Really, what it boils down to is just you've got to give people an opportunity to succeed or fail. Okay, if you go at it and don't trust people, you could be at a point where you close off doors and opportunities because you don't trust. And if you go into places where you trust everything, then you could end up being manipulated or harmed in other ways from people that are malevolent, that do not have your best interests in mind. So it's always good to be skeptical and observant of people, and to be really attentive to their mannerisms and their body languages and how they act and interact in certain situations. Because the thing is, when you're first getting to know somebody, you want to pay attention to all these things, because paying attention to everybody's mannerisms and everything is that they do. Because the thing is people, when they first get to know you, they may use their words to mask who they are, but their mannerisms will not mask who they are. And then later on, their words will no longer be able to mask who they are. But if you're paying attention to their mannerisms, then you'll be able to tell who they are even when they're trying to mask who they are. And that's really where the whole paranoia thing comes in. It's not paranoia and distrust. It's more like paranoia and skepticism and being observant and letting you prove yourself. Because everybody has a price, okay? And that price is what you're willing to pay. And when it comes to a woman and her children, that is her price. Okay, and you cannot expect different. So if you need to know up to what point you're willing to trust somebody, because some people, the first inconvenience, they'll turn on you, and other people, they have the endurance and the integrity and they have all that stuff to be able to keep going. So anyways, this is what I have to say on the subject. You guys know how to help the channel. Share the video, like, subscribe, everything else is down in the description. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.